know which generation you belong to? If not, what source would you use to find out? Would you ask someone? Would you use a book? Or would you just Google it? For the Z generation, it's not even a question. The Z generation contains people born between the mid-90s and present day, so basically every children and teenagers of today. People who were already born into technology, who'd rather use Google Translator than an actual dictionary, even if it's infamously inaccurate, and whose first word wasn't mommy, but Wi-Fi. Of course, it's obviously exaggeration, but you can get the main idea. This generation is so very different from the one before, and that generation is so very different from the one before that. The biggest difference is probably in the technologies they use. If our parents wanted to listen to some music, they bought a cassette tape or a CD. We just use Spotify. Using smartphones comes naturally for us, whereas for them, it takes some practice. A little anecdote from my school. In one of the classes, the students used their phones so much that the teacher got enough. He told them that they shouldn't use their phones under the table because he sees it anyway. Then he proposed a challenge to them. All of the students had to send him a text message without him noticing. By the end of the class, he got 30 text messages from 30 different children, and one of them even sent it during the oral test. With technology expanding so quickly, we have to adjust to some changes, and we also have to make some changes. In my school, the newest grade is learning in a virtual school, which means that they don't use books or pens to take notes, but they use laptops instead. Well, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I wouldn't want to learn like that because it really helps me to learn the things really helps me to learn the things if I take notes with my hands, but I'm not really against it. It has an upside too. Technology is not a bad thing. It's not something to be afraid of, and it's definitely not something to shy away from. Technology and computers can help you a lot in every aspect of life. For example, there is a smart version of almost everything. The smart TV tells you what to watch, the smart vacuum cleaner tells you when to clean, and the smart fridge tells you when you're out of eggs. Technology is not only Facebook and YouTube and Google, and if somebody says that they don't like the way technology is expanding, then they have to think about the rest of it too. But Facebook and YouTube and Google are not bad either. Some people argue that being online is not real life, but that's not true. Reading blogs or watching videos or playing games are real life too, since it's you sitting there and doing it. The same with chatting. Even though you can't see the other person and can't see their emotions, it doesn't mean you are not properly communicating with them. It's like writing a real letter. If you write a letter, you can't see the other person, and no one can guarantee that you are telling the truth since they can't see you either. What was writing a letter for our grandparents is what chatting is for us. Only we don't have to wait weeks for the response. This shows that while the newer generations are very different in a lot of ways, they are very similar in others. We have the need for the same feelings, but we go about in a different way. While everything is changing, some things stay the same, and I think it's important to realize that. You can choose not to accept those changes, but the world won't stop developing for you. And if you can't adapt, you'll get lost and fall behind, and no one will understand you. And it not only concerns the older generations, but ours too. There will be a generation after us, and one after that, and one after that. And it doesn't matter which generation we belong to, we will have to keep changing. If we ask kids 20 years from now which generation they belong to, they might skip typing anything into Google altogether and simply ask their digital assistant for the answer. And life will continue then too.